partner for Senna. You've got the Rupture to worry about. Even though this Xayah is typically notoriously hard to shut down, you get hit by one thing, you're gonna hit by absolutely everything else. I love the way that Bifrost have constructed this quite high range, loaded CC composition to threaten X7's backline.
Got a Hex Tech Drake to begin with. Look at those NLC banners. Up in the stars, Bifrost and X7 looking to try and go on to those hallowed heights of European Masters. 2 games for either team. Separate.
Do you think that
two
champions,
wins,
do you reckon the champions just look up in the sky and go, ah, logos? Is that just a regular occurrence for them?
I feel at this point it's a relatively regular. Mainly because, okay.
Maybe Summoner's Rift has a UFO problem.
That's probably because Summoner's Rift is divorced from all semblance of law, which upsets me to an extent, but we won't get into that right now. Is Haru and Jaeger just looking to see whether there's a level 1 available. And the last time I was watching Seraphine and Hecarim was the likes of Arya and Steel over in the LJL.
Okay, one of them.
I know, as this time it's me, of course, the LJL references. I'm allowed one, and this is where...
I'll have another one later.
Okay, maybe that's fine, okay. But the point still stands. That combo in particular is so nasty because Hecarim goes charging in and offers a conduit to allow the encore to extend. That encore really won't end. It's a Jay-Z song all over again.
And then also you have the ability to just buff them up and then get the move speed bonus.
Absolutely.
You've got plenty of items to go towards on the Seraphine too. But either way, Hecarim needs a dive buddy, and the encore is kind of that. Also got a lot of the shields coming in from the center too, because you've got that center roll, you've got the center Q coming through. Really dangerous ability to really nail the dive. We're going to see what's going to happen in this mid lane early levels, because actually Tempt was really bullying out Fury in that game.
He was, yes.
Time around with the Kaiser into the Ahri, and that was actually a really big part of how X7 came back into this game. Double knockup from Kasing, decent damage.
Does a lot of work there. Kasing has been very aggressive on the Rakan. Sometimes incredibly, sometimes it's bitten him back. Both supports, honestly, have been kind of looking for those engagements, and both teams have not been willing to give an inch. It's been a very closely contested series.
And I have to say that on my side of things, I feel like, yes, both games have been very hard for the supports to play. We expect so much out of these supports, though. Because this is a game that qualifies to E-Masters, because one of these teams is going to represent us guaranteed on the European stage, we'd want to see more out of them. These supports are ones that we've looked up to and said, you know what, these are MVP candidates for their roles, maybe for the whole goddamn thing. And they have struggled to have clean games so far, regardless of the difficulty of the positions they've been put in.
And honestly, X7 got a good lead and got a little bit sloppy in the mid game. It was something we kind of criticized them for earlier in the split, bluntly. And they need to, on this big stage, with stage presence perhaps of Fury, and of course that passive on Seraphine, yeah, I made the reference. Both of these teams will look to clean some of these mistakes up. And yes, there's been some great punishes. Yes, some of these compositional discrepancies have led to awkward game states from one team or the other. But I do want to see, even if it's close, even if it's back and forth, a few less...
Pushed in. Seraphine can't answer early wave. No. One of the big problems is early wave clear.
Teleport.
Tempt is using this, has a flash, has
the knock-up. OD will flash away from the grand entrance, but it's a grand kill as Haru steals the body. It's another pair of kills, of course, that goes the way of Tempt. Haru won't secure them this time because he doesn't, well, need to. 2 kills on your Vex. The doom and gloom begins to set in for Bifrost early on.
Really intelligent play from X7 to realize, hang on, why is Seraphine not picked in mid lane anymore? Well, because she has 0 wave control, struggles to come online in a relevant time span. Vex charges up the passive, pushes in the wave, comes down for an early attempt, and Kasing sets it up. There are 2 flashes available. One of them is flashed away from, of course, one is not. And then, yeah, I mean, as easy as you like. X7 clean up 2 kills. And this bot lane, which is so key to the death ball composition of Bifrost, is put behind early.
Yeah, the lovers were in the air as Kasing went in, got that fantastic grand entrance. And that is the deal with X7's bot lane when you are running Xayah and Xayah and Kasing. Like, the Kasing doesn't just randomly get Xayah's abilities, stick his face, Photoshop it on. The point is you get to run the W star, right? You get to run the Deadly Plumage, but you can't really do as easily with other supports. You get the increased range, you get to be really obnoxious, you get to force out multiple summoners to try and get a punish. Nata does get hit, though, by the last embrace, but turnaround there prevents too much follow-it. but the feral scream silence Kasing and prevent an easy battle dance out. So some poke does go over onto X7, who are now shoved onto tower themselves this time.
Have to see how that affects the rest of the map, because I mean X7, yes, they're under tower, but you know, jungle's on the other side of the map, which means that X7 wouldn't really want to be pushing up and potentially be worried about Seaboy coming in with, of course, the level 4 on the Hecarim. Tempt's going to be matching parity in the mid lane. Fury does have a slight CS advantage, but that was, of course, to the cost of 2 kills on the side of Vex. And Vex is such a snowbally champion themselves. If they fall behind, you don't get that first kill when you ult in, and you don't get the resets after that point. However, if you're on the other side of that, obviously the logic dictates you get that first amount of burst with so much stats on top of the gold you've been given, you start popping people on the other side. Kasing going into a brief 2v3.
Here's
Haru's
Haru.
here to even up the numbers.
Seaboy solo down, it'll just be a leash. Maybe it'll be a contest instead. Ward goes down just to watch out for whatever Seaboy does, but he knows with his HP bar too low, with Tempt at level 6 and the Vex Press ready and waiting to be boarded. He does not want to go into that.
Okay, well, Kasing looking to potentially threaten bot lane once more. And, you know, just as soon as we mentioned, you know, both these supports, we expect a lot from them. They're a key part of these both of these rosters and how we expect them to do going forward onto larger stages even still. Kasing has shown up in the first 6 minutes. Question is, can it last past that point? Kasing, obviously, very important part of the double dive combo that X7 themselves have between the Vex and the Rakan. Why am I not including the Tryndamere in that, or maybe even the Viego? Because the Viego probably just wants to be playing a lot of backline duty.
Fury, if you get Shadow Surge, you're dead. Has to flash.
Yeah, that's part of that dive combo with all of that extra gold starting to flex those muscles. But this is such an important thing now for X7, because what they want to do is they want to make sure that Bifrost are forced into 4v4s where their 4-man unit is actually not that strong. You've got the mid lane who's now being forced out of lane. Bot lane that's already died under turret, been denied some resources. If they manage to get this 4-man group very, very strong, then they don't need to worry about going to have Jaeger come in away from the 1v1, which he should be excelling in as the Tryndamere, to aid that unit. This is important now for X7. It feels like they're starting to really get off on a strong foot in this game.
Got to call it out as well. That looks like it's going to be a Moonstone Seraphine. That's Bandleglass Mirror in inventory there. And
it's more than fine.
My question to you, because at least on paper, I worry if you go towards, like, you're going to be pretty low on damage. Like, I know you've got a Hecarim, but he's likely going Chem Tank. And you have the burst, yes, you've got some good CC, but I feel like if you fall behind, you could run very shy on damage in these mid-game fights.
So, to an extent, yes, but to the other extent, it's all well and good having a damage discrepancy, but one team is going to be taking much less effective damage because of the heals and shields that they have outside of that. You know, the staying power that Bifrost have in a 5v5 is really hard to deal with. Now, of course, if things get very, very bursty and someone is taken off the table very early from Bifrost, that falls apart.
Save from a 2-0 Vex.
Yeah, and that's a big problem. However, if you're doing that into Seraphine Shields and actually everything else that's
darkness, yeah, and Gwen healing just passively, I see you.
Actually, it's quite difficult to take apart this phalanx that Bifrost want to set up with everyone in place at one time. This is not the time in the game where they really want to be fighting, though, and with the early lead, actually got to give this shout out, because, of course, look at that Barb and
Tempt. They saw the Herald go down. They didn't see Seaboy around. They thought he wasn't going to be there. He was just waiting in the wings. Flash away from the beat and walks back into the encore. He was out. He was out, and he walked back in.
Yes, back into the ult. He was clear, he was safe, maybe afraid of Seaboy ulting him back into it. Don't even need to use the Hecarim ult. And that 1 and the 2 kill, Vex does go down. Of course, the Herald still secured from X7, and now with that mid laner being taken off the board, Bifrost trying to invade into the enemy blue buff. They will take it. That's secured for Seraphine. Have to see how this comes across. And well, Tempt does pop that passive to try and stop the dash of Hecarim. Damage still comes through. You can't actually negate Hecarim from doing the damage from his E as soon as it's charged. I would know. I've tried to do the same with Ari Charm quite a lot. At least I believe that's the interaction. Maybe I'm just... Look, I have to say, I ban Hecarim so much, I actually rarely play against him myself. Really? Yeah, I mean...
I didn't realize it was your ban.
Yeah, well, I push up in lane and then Hecarim comes behind me. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm dead.
And now I am dead, yes. Okay, I see your angle there. He's quite strong, of course, at the minute. A lot of junglers around the world definitely been... praising the strength of Hecarim right now, or at least calling it out. I'm not sure whether praising is quite
acknowledging the strength of Hecarim.
There we go. Thank you for the correct phrasing, as I managed to create a new word myself there briefly.
I'm neither for or against this champion, he says in the most neutral tone possible.
Yeah. just think it's strong.
So, where else is going to be the strong point on the map, though? X7, of course, have themselves the Herald in inventory. It's before 14 minutes. They can use that to get their plates. The question is, where do you want those plates? I actually wonder if you want to start getting the Trinity rolling at this point, because while you have potentially a leg up in the 4v4, which is very important, because that's where Bifrost's real strength lies, you can then also have a lead in the split-pushing matchup with the Tryndamere starting to get ahead of the Gwen. I think that is super important for the way that X7 want to play the map. It would give them extra angles to approach the 4v4 because they're pushing in on side lanes, get themselves more gold from taking down structures. Overall, I think that's where I would put the Herald if it was my choice. Pressing the button on his keyboard, but for now,
instead, thinking about a bot lane play, especially because there's a dragon spawning in 15 seconds, think perhaps getting gold into Xayah, especially I can understand that one as well as one of your prime carries and wants to get to those lethality items nice and early. There's the greatness grand entrance, double knock up as well. Odie having to flash away, but the blade caller will not be needed. The daggers keep flying, and Duel has to flash out of the way of those deadly plumage. Instead, he will throw out a Rupture, a little more. It is a Cho'Gath against the world. Cho'Gath Eat World might be the band name on Amumu's poster wall, the splash art wall, but instead there's a Herald coming down. I don't know how much he can do. Xboy will be around. So, though, is Fury. There's an encore that's potentially available. Herald still gets to charge, even if there was a Feast available to chunk it out. They're going to keep charging on a Nata, who does have a Feather Storm. The blades get called. Nata flashing away. Beats are dropped, and so is the stage present, throwing out all those additional notes. Shadow Surge comes straight through, and Seaboy will be seen later.
That was a very bold play from Bifrost. You don't have Odie, you have a center ult. Sure, they've respawned at some point, but you're going into a Xayah with all of their disengage tools available, plus the extra shields coming through from Kasing when he is close by. It's a step too far, and it just doubles down on what they'd already lost in the bot lane. Kasing, once again, leading the charge in this third game. He's had some more awkward moments in this series so far, but that does not, by any means, diminish these plays that are coming out at him in this one game. Gonna go see the very end of this play too, and yeah, I mean, you're charging up your E and everything to get in towards Nata, but gets right in towards that root, and he's way too deep after this point, and after getting caught by that stun from Diego, not even able to ult out.
Look at that team of X7, so many ways to punish the over dives. Rakan, Xayah, Viego, all known for it. Vex can follow up from so far away. There's just not a huge amount you get to do once you've blown your abilities. Does come back to haunt them. Nata stays alive, only at the cost of his ultimate. Did have to flash, of course, after the encore came down as well, but they get another dragon. They're on track towards a soul. It's another Cloud Soul. We've seen a lot of those this series, and the gold lead, again, going towards X7. It's only the first game, really, where I feel Bifrost have managed to hold on a little bit easier in the early game as Duel sidesteps away from a grand entrance again, Kasing constantly hunting for those.
Yes, and he knows that he can, because you've got a Senna who's sat at 0 and 2, and you called out that Bifrost would probably have quite low damage this game compared to other meta compositions. I have to say, I agree. Look at that bar beneath the HUD. In the green room, they also seem to be agreeing that X7 are really getting firm control of this game, and they're grasping it even more firmly in the bot side.
Duel screams ferally, but I think it's just a scream of pain at this point. He's about to fall down for the second time. It's a 0-4-0 combined for this bot lane. Haru's around, throws down the harrowed path. But there's not much more to be done. Seaboy and Odie are hanging around, but Shadow Surge just being used at a hunt as the first one was used, and 3 kills on Tempt, 2 on Nata, and this game, we asked for cleanliness, this is looking more like it.
And a lot of the reason is, what can Seraphine do to respond to this? It's still not in 40 minutes, can't tell. I mean, you still have the ult on the Xayah.
Are you sure, Seaboy? There it is, going to come down, but the Feathers aren't in the best position. Battle Dance, not quite enough, but he's going to get stunned in place anyway. You've got a Dawning Shadow, but there's a Heartbreaker there, and it'll just be a 1-for-1. Kasing picks that one up, and you burnt quite a lot there just to go 1-for-1.
Did Haru going to clear out this wave, and that's the thing, right? You fought pretty hard for that at the end of it, and all it does is bring things into somewhat neutrality. Seaboy trying to punish the Xayah yet again, already called out that he had the ultimate, and this time he does at least manage to fear him back right into the waiting arms of Odie, who picks up that one kill. I mean, the gold going up to the center, it's not a negligible thing. We were talking about how, I mean, just before that play came out, Bifrost's probably going to have quite low damage as the composition goes in this day and age, in this patch. And giving gold over to the center can at least help you reach those first items, but you're already behind the curve. It's going to be hard to catch up.
51 souls right now, a little ways off the curve that Odie was the first game where he pulled that one out. looked very strong at that point, but you know, the souls continue to stack up, could be pretty dangerous, but Tempt flashing out of the Encore. Mistral Bolt comes down, flying through. C-Boy did devastatingly charge in. Haru was just waiting over that wall, lurking around, looking to ruin C-Boy's day. Very apt considering who he is, stepping forwards. Those areas of speed because of the Cloud Rift doing a lot of work right now, but so much damage turning around. Haru gets that one. Shadow Surge comes through. Follow-up will not be found, and C-Boy just cannot take those trades. 0-3-2.
I know that Viego is a pretty okay matchup into the Hecarim, because all Hecarim can really do in terms of fights is dive in. That is what the champion is designed to do, and Viego does well into that style of play. But when you're sat at 0-3, 0-2 before that fight, and choosing to pick on this mid-jungle TV2 that is so far ahead of you, that to me is just a mistake. That is just a misjudgment, and C-Boy is very much struggling in this third game.
Haru has been the king of junglers this season. C-Boy has been so good, but I honestly say, in every single game I have been so impressed with Haru. He gets another Herald. He gets to keep playing. Hecarim, you got to bow down to your Ruin King. Follow the law, man. And Kasing going on the bot side. I was about to throw it to my brother to give him some chance, to give us some narrative. He's not going to have a chance because there's going to be more action. C-Boy is bot side. The feathers have been called, and that means there's maybe an angle to engage, but they just won't be able to get far enough in. And I finally think you have a moment to speak.
Oh, lovely. I can maybe do something with that as Bifrost at least survived that play this time. It is a flash away from that center who has struggled to keep themselves afloat so far. I was going to mention the fact that actually as much as Haru's been doing well,
C-Boy.
Temp's been following up. It's actually just C-Boy who's going to get punished yet again, forced out of the river, at least escaping with his life this time.
Not quite enough damage, didn't want to burn the Heartbreaker to rend Hecarim's soul from his body quite yet. He'll back away, but he's so difficult. Even the river, with support, is just not a place you could be. Haru continuing to step forward. Blade of the Ruin King after Blade of the Ruin King severs HP bars. Will get kicked back. Will not quite get enough damage down. Shadow Surge won't land, but the Ignite does the work required. C-Boy trying to get some damage down, but he's just not enough there. He'll onslaught a Shadow over the wall, smite the dragon for HP. Is there going to be a roam down to allow anything more? No, there is not. Mistral Bolts flying onto Duel, who would make for a second death in the bot side, apt for his name, but he will survive. X7 can do no wrong this game. It feels teleporting back mid to make sure the tower doesn't fall.
And
Jaeger
X7
gets a tower.
X7 are so scary when they are on form, when they are poised rather, and feels like reports of their demise have been greatly exaggerated. Sat here with a back-breaking lead at this point, Soul Point, 6,000 gold to the advantage, and every single important member of this four-man unit for X7 finding some great rewards. That 1v1 and that top side, the tower's gone down to the side of Jaeger. He is more than happy playing that out.
I don't think you want. He's got no mana. He's got no ultimate. I don't know whether you can stay out of this. There will be a mocking shout. There is a Gale Force as well. He just gets spinned and slashed and Beybladed down. Let it. Goddamn rip.
C-Boy trying to go for fight after fight. Try to find that one fight that can at least make a hole in the dam, or at least just a crack in the masonry, but it's just
Shikari
so
can't be here. There's the mocking shot. The teleport's now going to potentially come through. In fact, not potentially, it is coming through. Grand entrance to try and disengage, but there was a hallowed mist to prevent too much more. It will force a quickness out of Kasing, but you take that in trade as in the bot side. OD is definitely done.
It's well done on the grill of X7's 80 carry, and the jungle and Haru once again finds his way into the thick of things and puts X7 even further into the lead. X7 looking to take a 2-1 advantage in this series. They've done it in very different styles between their one win and this one game where they are in the advantage. This time they're playing a bit more towards early pressure. They're playing more towards denying Bifrost their own advantage rather than waiting towards the mid and late game with the grouped up skirmishes. This one's been across different lanes, but they've had no less impact regardless of which lane they've happened in.
Only one single outer turret remains in the mid lane, and Fury on the Seraphine is feeling oh so very alone. There is no supporting act right now. There is no follow-up. The Encore is being done to a very hostile Cry. The Encore, though, will try and stun people up, but a Heartbreaker is not even needed to be done, and the soul is stolen from the pop star herself.
Hell hath no fury like a Seraphine scorned, so I would say 1-1.
Oh, Duel.
Doing okay in terms of his KDA, but wishes he could do so much more in this game. Leaving his team to try and wave clit under this mid lane turret. Looks like they are going to manage to do that at the very least, but Bifrost, they haven't found a real win in this game ever since the very early game. They have so struggled. Anything going for them.
Jaeger gets to play side lane the way he wants to this time. He gets to be the one with vision. He gets to be the one up. 30 CS, up the kill, up the tower by himself.
It's a really good thing to call out because, you know, we talked about saying kind of wanted to see more from him. Jaeger, similar kind of state. First 2 games, a little bit shaky from that top laner, but this third one, stable as can be. Absolutely smooth sailing on the Tryndamere, of course.
Shikari's Gwen, a champion we've had nothing but praise for.
But we forget the other side of that. Jaeger, one person to get the pentakill in this split, and it's on this champion. Pilots it like an absolute masterclass, whereas Haru going into a 1v2 just takes the blue buff.
You've got a double king lineup in that top side, the Ruin King and the King of the Freljord, and upon these champions they will build an empire. Shadow Surge comes through and the primeval dinosaur is hunted, taken down. It's sport at this point. Haru's so damn tanky in the form of the Cho'Gath. Well, Heartbreaker up, and now it's actually pretty low, but look at the damage coming back from Natu, stepping forward. The turret doing more work than Bifrost right now to keep the health bars low. The high notes come through, but the high note is really just clearing minions. That's not much of a note to talk about at all.
And now you're sat here with a lot of towers down from the side of Bifrost. In previous games, we talked about how that territory and the vision becomes so important. When you have Vexalt to deal with, again, very pivotal in this game. If you're pushing in one of these inner towers, so quick to rotate, even quicker. You managed to tag that Shadow Surge. Bifrost, if you thought that was the easy part of the game, trying to defend your outer turrets, boom, about to get much harder.
At least Odie avoids the fear proc, but the flashes come through. Odie burns down. An onslaught of shadows come through, but it's all he's defending is shadows because his teammates were already 2 foot wide and 6 feet deep. C-Boy, the chicken over his head, and it does feel a little bit like in this game, Bifrost are headless chickens. They don't know where to be on the map. And yes, that's a little harsh, but it's been suffocating.
The Seraphine can't clear the waves. The Gwen's losing the 1v1 to the Tryndamere, and your bot lane is 1 and 8 combined between the Bifrost.
Oh, Lord.
They need to find some real kind of miracle catch in between rotations, and they don't have the damage to do that. This is dire straits for the team that took game 1.
2 very close games of game 1 where Bifrost punished some engages where, yes, it wasn't clean, but it looked pretty interesting. What have you got for me?
You have Dragon coming up. Bifrost, they finally grouped up. They have 5 members in one lane for what feels like the very first time this game. This is what their composition was designed to do. X7 have shut it down before it could get to this point. Mission accomplished in terms of playing to the win conditions of the enemy team, and does feel like X7 very happy to just split the map and say, you can't play around your death ball.
They're going for Baron. They're going to try and 2-man it. Duel and C-Boy tanky enough to make this difficult. Nata and Jaeger are around, though. They don't know it's happening. C-Boy's had to pull off, though, because the pressure mid lane is so difficult. Fury is about to face some even greater anger. A man who is so angry, he literally cannot die.
But only for 5 seconds.
But only for 5 seconds. He can only be undying for 5 seconds. It's quite impressive, really.
But again, X7, what they were trying to do is pull Bifrost across the map. So you can't play with your 5-man unit. If you commit to one side of the map, we'll back off and take something on the other side. They take the Dragon, get themselves a Cloud Soul from everything that happened in the last few minutes, and X7's so happy with the way this game is going. The rest of the game, probably just going to be about allowing Jaeger to have a free push, potentially take a Dragon if Bifrost don't allocate their members across the map well, and that should be the death of this game 3.
I mean, poor C-Boy this game. It's basically late game Elden Ring character coming back to wail on the first boss. That poor tree sentinel is like, yes, I'm so strong, I'm this powerful thing that's haunted so many players, so many games across League of Legends. Players come back, it's like, I have got so much anger for you right now. Maybe they can punish it here, but the feathers keep flying, and that is why it is so difficult to play into this.
L plus Altless plus Tush Grace plus kill the 4-man unit in the middle. Okay, not going to get quite as hypey. But X7
is why you're made
to disengage from that. C-Boy not having ult, though, is actually probably more important than the Xayah not having ult at this point, because you need that Hecarim ult to get anything going in some kind of crazy turnaround fight. As much as you might be able to shut down Xayah just a little bit more effectively at this point, you don't have the luxury of having inopportune ultimate usage.
We've got doom and gloom abounding between Haru and Tempt, but I would love, aside from the thematic options, to have a look at our vision right now, because I feel like X7 are absolutely in firm command, but we might have to wait on that as Fury face checks into a Tryndamere. Gale Force forward secures the kill. He's going to keep going. He finally dies because he does not pop ultimate. And there was enough damage there to get
Maybe
the
it looks
kill.
like the 4 raid members
But all
like,
the while,
all
Baron was
5 of you
happening.
are here. This was a problem.
Sing's gonna turn it around though, the quickness is there! And he's down with it! Ooh, another kill comes in through Haru, who goes onto a killing spree. Cho'Gath gets a shot down onto Kasing, but all the while Haru has stolen some souls, and Duel trying his very best to escape because the rest of his team is absolutely dead. I'll stop singing Disturbed because the gameplay itself is disturbing for all Bifrost fans. Turn your eyes, avert your gaze. It's a bloodbath.
Duel gets flashed on. It's all 5 Bifrost members dying in that fight. Getting a couple of shutdowns for yourself is okay, but this is still going to be the Baron going over, I'd assume, as we come out of replay. And Bifrost have to engage so deep into beyond their vision line that this was always going to happen. You just have to hope that the Vex ult miraculously goes wide, and it sure as heck does not. It's the immediate retreat call from Bifrost, and with the ability to chase down with champions like Viego with multiple resets of the Heartbreaker Strike, there ain't enough walls on the entire map to get you safely away from this champion.
I was wrong. Elden Ring was the wrong game to reference. It's Monster Hunter. Haru has been choking out this Cho'Gath all game long. But literally half of my casting is references and puns. Don't take this away from me.
Well, I think the message has been received by Bifrost as they're going away from this.
Did you just say bye-bye, Frost?
Okay, I didn't intentionally mean that, but it is seeming like a farewell from Bifrost in this game 3. And again, you asked for that vision just before this play.
Oh, Lord.
And they can't even see the big objective going down away from them. X7, they have lanes pushed in. They have themselves a hilarious gold lane. They have themselves a chime to their own advantage. You know, the battle sirens have been sung. And they're more than willing and ready to crush through this game at this point.
Pretty cheerful, but those are alarm bells right now for Bifrost. Maybe they can find something here in the retreat. It's a 2v4. They'll get Kasing, but Nada stays alive. That is a big moment. The root comes through on a Seaboy. Haru now thinking about coming forward. Jaeger's around here as well. Temp is free.
So they don't use the Hecarim ult, but Nata has everything available. It's all well and good killing Kasing, but there's no big objective up right now. You have denied 1 Baron buff, and maybe that's enough of a victory.
Temp's around.
Potentially.
Passive stacked.
That play.
Could maybe look for more. Will not burn it. Did get a tower in the top side while all this was happening, so you do trade a tower for it. But how much of this push have you thwarted?
Shift.
2 minutes left.
More than I thought they would, actually. More than I thought they would. Particularly when you need the, potentially need that Kasing to get right into the back line and say, yeah, I need to be one of the big engagers. Actually, speaking of Kasing, I was going to go talk about, wow, you need Kasing to do all the engages. We have a really rarely picked up item from here. We've got that Wardstone coming in from Kasing. Rarely get to see that. I'm happy to see that one.
It's super important in the late game, honestly, because it gives you so much more space, especially when your inventory is now full up.
Yes.
You need to find a way to secure vision right now. And the later this game goes, the harder it is to control your vision. Seaboy's going to try and come through. He's going to get a little bit of a charge on Nata, who does still have the Feather Storm. It is popped. Maybe gets something, but now Duel's been rooted and he's gone too deep, gets charmed up, will maybe fall down, does so. Nata gets someone, look at Jaeger in the camera, the Barbarian King is here, Gale forced into the backside, Odie over the wall, has to escape, spinning, slash out. Undying Rage has popped, but there's little more to be found. It's 2 for none. And out went Odie, but his flash was blown, his HP was blown, and his base is blown to smithereens. C4 more than C-Boy in this game for X7.
X7, they demolish, they dismantle Bifrost. They never let them play out their composition. They learned their lesson from that game 1.
It's a final moment. We've seen what can happen at Nexuses before. There is no hostile takeover quite yet. They pull back out of the base. They will not overdive, not this time. Instead, it's a reset. It's 25 seconds to Elder Dragon. And Bifrost, if you had to flip, you have to flip now.
So, credit to them in this case as well. Actually, one of our running themes about X7 is how when they have lost games, it's been about overdiving, it's been about overconfidence, and they don't get ahead of themselves in this one. Understand that this is a playoffs match. This is, again, for qualification towards the EU Masters, get themselves a place in the NLC finals. It was a coveted chance to put yourself onto the silverware of our region. And this is the fight which, of course, might end up... I mean, I'm not going to say that's the game-winning fight or something. It felt like the game was very much decided before that point, but certainly puts things even more into their advantage. Haru is
Slaughter of Shadows. Jaeger's in the backside, so is Tempt. All aboard the Vexpress. In they go. And Tempt on a killing spree. It's X7 dead Deadly Sims and Temptation's the worst of them. Godlike is Haru. Tempt on a rampage, and with 4 dead, they'll go on to win game 3.
Well, temptation is one of the sins, greed is another, but I actually struggle to call that greed from the side of Bifrost. You can't just give over an Elder. Maybe you're looking for a miracle flip. All they find is Doom waiting for them. X7 look to crush down the base.
It's Doom, it's Gloom, and it's a 24-6 kill game. X7 looking so much down cleaner. This was the team we were all fearing mid-split. Series point, X7 are a game away from EU Masters.
X7 struggle to find a single